I want the W, Dan. That's what I want. Give me that dub. Give me that dub. Yeah! Let's go! Let's go, girls!
Hey guys, and welcome back to another Gold Coast Frontline Podcast where we talk all things Gold Coast Titans and the community. Today, we're going to need to keep as positive and as high energy as we possibly can considering the weekend. But this podcast does go into everything Gold Coast Titans, and we do try and put it on a positive spin. You know, we want to give you guys hope. We want to give ourselves hope as well. It's not just about you guys. It's also about, you know, keeping us positive to really believe in the goal of this club and the drive of this club going forward. And, you know, hopefully when myself and my co-hosts are discussing everything about rugby league, you know, you guys are also feeling that passion and feeling the same energy going forward, because that's exactly what we want. In today's podcast, obviously, we do go through the men's game, the women's game, which was exciting over the weekend, the Host Plus Cup action, and just everything going right around in our community. So really excited to get into today and discuss everything that's happened over the weekend. But I am joined here by my co-host in Clarkey. How we doing, man?
Yeah, g'day, mate. G'day to all our viewers. Thank you, and listeners, of course, on podcast. Thanks for coming back and joining us for another week. As Blaze touched on here, it wasn't the best week in our club, particularly as we focus on the NRLW. Plenty of reasons to smile there. But the aim of this podcast will always be to promote positivity amongst Titans fans. And that means we're not going to not keep it real and give tough reviews where we need to. Absolutely, that's a part of it. But Blaze and I have just seen too often in not just our community, the Titans community, all NRL fan-based communities, after one loss, the toxicity in the comment section and the personal attack of players. And we're just not about that. We feel it doesn't help our club move forward in any way. And so if we can use this podcast to give everyone an entertaining hour to listen everything Titans, but also foster some positivity in there, we think that could be a real bright spot in our community. Let's kick it off with our Titans news. We start off with just one today, actually. Phillip Sami. Now, News Corp are reporting the Roosters are interested in signing him. Sami's been with us since under 20s, Blaze, so we'll go straight over to you. Are you a little bit worried we could lose Sami, or do you think we're safe and we'll re-sign him?
I think this one, comparatively to Tino and Dave, is a bit more of an unknown to me, but I also have no belief and no thought process that he will leave. I think that he knows what we're building here. We've just re-signed a lot of our guys long-term to 2026 and beyond. You know, the likes of Bowie Firma, David Fafita, Tino, AJ Brimdale Millionaire. You know, we've got just a whole heap of guys that we've really locked down. Jaden Campbell, locked down long-term, that I believe that Phillip Sami would be able to look at and say, you know what, I want to stay here. This is my home. This is where I'm from. And I want to remain with this club going forward. I know Desi might be a hard-nosed approach, but in the same sense, we might come out with the chocolates at the end because of it. So, look, I haven't spoken to Phil about this, and I probably wouldn't speak to Phil about this, but I don't get any vibe from him that he would be looking to leave. I do see him at the end after the games. I do see him at trainings and whatnot. And I just haven't ever gotten that vibe that he is, you know, on the verge of leaving to go elsewhere. And look, to be honest with you as well, the Roosters are linked with everybody. The Roosters are a club that everyone just links to, especially when they're going through their problems. Regardless of the weekend's results, they're still going through major problems in their club right now. So, yeah, I think that this is just another player being linked there. They've just signed Dom Young on for the wing as well. They've got Daniel Tupou on the other wing. And I feel like it's going to be really difficult to see him going there unless he goes into the centre's position. But overall, again, the Roosters just get linked with anybody and everybody. And this could just be another one of that.
Yeah, completely agree. Like, if we see the headline, Tigers linked with Phil Sami, we probably dismiss it and go, well, they're probably not a realistic chance. But no offense to Tigers fans, but that's just the honesty of it. You know, whenever you link anyone to the Roosters, it's a story, because people, if they don't care, they're going to at least comment and give these newspapers interaction and salary cap sombrero, they sign everyone, brown pay base, etc., etc. For what it's worth, as far as Titans players, I would actually say I am the most closest to Phil, just because we both love UFC so much. So we're always talking about that. But I've never, I guess, had the courage to ask him about that. It's a private matter. My gut feeling is he will stay. I love Phil. He's one of my favorite players, so I hope he does stay. Where I do get a bit nervous is the Sydney Roosters. They are known for not just selling you the club. They sell you after football. That's what Brandon Smith was so keen to go there. And Phil Sami's re-signed with us until the end of 2024, as is Daniel Tupou with them. So he could become the replacement there in 2025. But they cannot talk to him until November 1st. So fingers crossed our Titans hear this and start talking to him before November 1st. and lock him down long term, because I think Phil's someone who's going to start pushing for rep jerseys, whether that's for Samoa on the wing or even the Queensland Maroons is in such great form.
Well, the thing is as well with Phil is that I don't want to lose the celebration. I did hear a stat, a really crazy stat that I don't really like, but apparently every time he does one of his famous celebrations, and his celebrations are awesome every time he scores a try, but apparently there's a stat going around that whenever he scores, we don't win whenever he does that, like a celebration, we don't win the game, you know? So it was a couple of weeks ago, there was the one against the Eels with the Gutherino over the top of him. For some reason, there's this stat going around that I really hate because I want to see more of it, but I'm pretty certain I think I saw this last week, and I spoke to Phil about it, and he just seemed like he'd heard it too, which is a problem because I don't want to see him not celebrating those tries, man. I love it.
It's so entertaining for what it's worth from like a try July perspective. I'd love if that was just all year round. It's so fun to watch. His one on Greg Marzu was another epic one where he said too small, and then Marzu scored and said to him, "You're too small back." Yeah. That was a nice little battle from one of our current and one of our former wingers there. Let's kick into our NRLW review. We defeat the North Queensland Cowboys 16-6 at Cbus Super Stadium. I know you were there because I heard you through my television as Politi made a break. I heard, "Go!" And all I could see as she ran down the sideline was you smashing the drum. So loved the passion there, mate. And what was the crowd like? What was the vibe like? How was it live at the venue there?
I do think the crowd was quite good, to be honest with you, man. I know that it was the first game of the women's season and the women's game in regards to publicity with the general NRL fan that is usually quite staunch in the culture and the history of it all in regards to the men's game. I am really happy that there were still quite a few people that did get out to the game. Obviously, we were there in the front line, the official sports club of the Gold Coast Titans. We got out there early. I was getting those drums up. We were getting some chants up. I actually said that to Karen Murphy and Aaron Booth at the end of the game, at the end of the men's game, after obviously everyone's left and we're out the back. I said to them, you know, I did my best. I wanted to get as much support as we possibly could for the women's game because I am really excited for it. And obviously we did get a good win against the Cowboys. And the Cowboys did give it a really good run for their money as well. It's not like they were just really easy rollovers. They were the ones who scored the first try of the game. And then we came over the top of them there. But yeah, look, I'm just really excited about what the NRLW potentially has to offer this season for everyone. Again, we got that crowd going. I did actually, funnily enough, because it was a doubleheader, right? So because it was before the men's game, I did want to conserve my energy because I know how much energy I put into the men's game. So I wanted to kind of conserve it, also conserve my camera battery life and whatnot. Yeah. But I wish I didn't. I really wish I didn't. I wish I got more of that women's game and pushed even harder in regards to the voice and the noise because it absolutely deserves it. And also the second game didn't really go to plan. But it absolutely deserves to get that passion behind it. And again, we won. We had errors in our game for sure. It was the first game of the season. And they might not be used to playing in front of, I think we had nearly 10,000 people there by that time. So, yeah, look, I was really impressed with it. And I'm hoping that this is a really good point of our season where we just push on from here and say, you know what, we got a good start. Now we take on the Broncos next week, slap them down, and we're going to keep on moving, baby.
That's an amazing crowd number too. 10,000 is awesome for the
8,000 is near 10,000. 8,000 near 10,000.
Yeah, 8,000. That's a lovely crowd number. It's great to see people get out and support because in my mind and pretty much everyone's mind, it's not a curtain raiser. It's a genuine doubleheader, particularly when we look at our women's side and can see that they are premiership threats there. But simply brilliant by our women. I know the Cowboys did score first, but I felt like that try was just a gangster run of momentum. I felt like we really were in control of that game. Manselman, a great scoot, caught us lacking a little bit in the middle there. Fair enough. But even so, I still felt confident that we had the composure to come back. And we were making errors in that as well. That's not to say we were absolutely perfect. I think that confidence really came from Polite, though. Every time she ran the ball, something happened. A tackle break, a line break, a half break, something. Just an explosive fullback there.
She's unbelievable.
Yeah, you can't really say any higher of her. She is, in my opinion, the best fullback. And I know you've got Tonagato and some other absolute guns there, but I'll take our fullback over anyone in the women's game. Only negative was our completion rate, down at 60%. Realistically, you could say that's not good enough, but I think that there are some excuses, whether first game of the year, new signings, but particularly the fact that we lost our key 5'8" in Phil Mayano, and then we lost Emily Bass on the wing there as well, who's a rep State of Origin winger. So we did have to face some adversity. It wasn't a perfect win. And I actually view that as a positive because we get the chocolates and we also have something to look forward to and build to next week against the Broncos, which we will preview in just one moment. Before we do, can I get your 3-2-1s? Who gets your 3 this week? I think I know your answer.
Yeah, I think we all know my answer there. Just before we do go into those 3-2-1s, I also want to reference the fact that, we actually went over the try line like 5 or 6 times in this game. We won the game 16-6, but dead set, we have the attack in us. Unfortunately, they were the correct calls in regards to the bunker. And another shout out here has to go to the bunker because I thought they were really snappy. They were really quick with their decision making and it was the right decision. So why is it in the women's game, we're very happy with the bunker, but when it comes to the men's game, it's a completely different story. I think that the men's game needs to take a leaf out of the booklet of the women's game because honestly, the bunker was fantastic. I thought that overall, the Titans had so much attack in them and were able to get over the line so many times, was taken off, but it just shows that when it goes right, like when we get this team in order, that was the first game of the season, they're going to be dangerous. They're going to be real dangerous, and they could have easily put a score past the Cowboys in this game, which was, granted, the Cowboys' first ever game in the NRLW. This was their first ever opportunity to play the game. Them alongside the Tigers, and I think it's the Sharks, who's the other team. Is that correct?
Yeah, and Raiders.
Yeah. Oh, and the Raiders, yeah, there you go. So there's a couple other teams there as well. But the point of the matter is that, we have a really good opportunity here with this team, especially the fact that we went over the line like 4 or 5 times that weren't tries, include them with our tries, and if we can get them right, bang, we're coming. But obviously, 3-2-1s, my 3, there's no way that I don't take Evania Pelletti. I don't, there's no way you can't go her. She was absolutely dominant. The tackle breaks that she had, the ball movement she had, the way that she just really owned that game was absolutely unreal. And you saw people who were NRL fans from other teams who may not even be NRLW fans, but watching that game and saying, she's a talent, man. She's a talent. She did it for the Australian Sevens team as well. Obviously, it's come across to us, and she's a massive, real leader, and that's exactly what we need with this team, especially considering we've just brought in a whole heap of girls from elsewhere. We've changed the team up quite dramatically, but guess what? Evania Pelletti is going to lead this team to glory. I can tell you that right now.
Completely agree. She's my 3 points as well. I know she plays centre for the Maroons to accommodate Tamika Upton at fullback, but I still think Pelletti probably has a little bit more X factor than Upton, who you could probably say is a little bit more consistent with her kick returns, etc. But I got on Pelletti 3 points. She scored a try. Now, she only had 17 runs and 16 were tackle breaks. So only one time she ran the ball, she did not break a tackle. That also led to 2 line breaks, 246 meters, 3 offloads. Need I say more? A magnificent game. My 2 points, I'm going to go Georgia Hale, our captain. I'm not sure if this is an NRL record, but she did have 49 tackles for just 1 miss in the middle. I have asked an NRLW fan page on Instagram if that is the record, but add to that, Blaze, she also had a line break assist and 97 meters from 11 runs. So a really busy effort by our captain in the middle. Who gets your 2 points this week?
Yeah, it goes to Georgia Hale as well, 100%. She made an incredible amount of tackles. I did give her my potential MVP vote when we did this last week about who we thought was going to be our best players going into the rest of the season. I thought she was unbelievable and just ran the ball damn well hard. It was really incredible to watch her lead this team as the captain, and I was not disappointed whatsoever with it. We faced adversity with the fact that we had all those tries taken off us. We faced adversity with the fact that we had a couple of injuries go down. But Georgia Hale rallied the team and got us over the line in the end to win the game. So, and also, just to say, I know it was a Cowboys' first ever game, but it was our first ever game. It was our first game as a team as well. And we've got so many expectations this year. You're in front of a crowd with this crazy drummer who's drumming up a storm on the sideline. You're hearing that noise when you're not really necessarily used to it. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing at all. I'm saying that's a good thing to get used to. But the women are really starting to come into a game now where they've got a lot more eyes on them. And that with that comes a lot more pressure. And I think Georgia Hale really encompassed and really encapsulated this team really well to push on through that. So, yeah, really thought that Georgia Hale was fantastic as my 2. And then in my number 1, there is a couple there that, and I think that majority could get a shout here, but I do have to go and look straight to Talia Fuimaono, who did get injured in the game, but I thought that overall, when she was on the field for the 47 minutes that she was, and again, you guys have got to understand, it's a 70-minute game, 35-minute halves, not 40-minute halves. So Talia Fuimaono was on for 47 minutes, And I thought that she really did well in that 5'8" position. You know, she had 2 line break assists. She had 29 passes, 1 offload. Her tackle efficiency of 9 tackles was 100% in defense. Ran for 82 meters. And it says there's a fantasy game here. It says total points fantasy 33. I'm not too sure about the fantasy there. It'd be actually potentially good to get on into that. But yeah, I thought Talia Fumano came into this team and did well in that 5'8" position. Got to give a big shout out though to Destiny Minosapati, who did really kill it on the wing there for the Titans. And yeah, I'm loving this team, man. I'm loving this team. But I think Talia Fumano was really good for my 1 point.
Well, I'll save my honourable mentions list because I could literally name the whole team in one aspect or another. Everyone was brilliant in this one. So I'll go 1 point, Jamie Chapman, a key signing for us. As I mentioned in the World Cup in our NRLW preview, 6 tries in the centres playing there in 2 games. Unreal talent and just looked dangerous for us every time she touched the ball. Outside of Polite, I would say she looked our most dangerous player. But certainly there was some great work being done through the middle by our forwards as well in a low-scoring game. Jamie Chapman, my 1 point, but plenty of honourable mentions you could give out. Let's preview our next NRLW game. Let's stay right here because our NRLW team are all the talk at the moment. We're against the Broncos at the Gabba, 5:40 p.m. Thursday. Now, I don't know about you, but personally, I'm thrilled to have a doubleheader on Thursday nights. I love the Friday classic doubleheader. Having it on a Thursday night is awesome. Seems like a difficult game to predict. When you look at the Broncos side on paper and you look at what they've achieved in the women's game, you probably would lean to them. But they did lose by 18 points. They did have a send-off, 18 points in round 1, that is. They did have a send-off in the second half. To their credit, from that point, they did only let in 1 more try. But they also didn't score any points at all in the second half. And looking back at our game last round against the Cowboys, I thought the second half was probably our strongest half, which is exciting as a Titans fan if you catch my drift. So I think that we've got the ability to really hang in.
We're going to do this, man. Really? We're going to do that?
Yeah. My apologies there. But look, I just do think that we have more of an 80-minute team in us. I feel that way. Now, if Fuimayano is named in the reserves, it will be massive if she is able to return for us. But I do feel confident we can get the job done without Fuimayano if we need to, off the back of Lauren Brown against her former team. I'm feeling confident. I want to say 13 plus, but I think it's a little bit too early in the season to go handing out 13 plus tips. But I do still think we beat the Broncos. I'll say 1-12. What's your prediction for this one, and how are you seeing it?
For me, I'm going to have to go with 1-12 as well, and pretty much on the same basis that you've said there. I am really confident in this game here for the Titans women, especially coming off the fact that we've won, the Broncos did lose. However, the Broncos did lose to a good Roosters team, who are the favourites to win the comp this year. The Broncos do sit down there in 9th position out of the 10 teams, which is really low for them because they were the prime team of the NRL for a few years. I remember there was a time in like the first 3 or 4 years where they had not lost a single game. A single game, there was a point. But obviously, the competition is a lot more rounded now. There's 10 teams rather than 4 teams. And it's just a better product at the moment. So that's why you're seeing the Broncos not as dominant as they have been in the past. Very similar to, adding in teams in Southeast Queensland where the men's team isn't as dominant as they have been in the past. But look, I think the Broncos still have a pretty good team here. They've got Ali Brigginshaw, who's their captain and halfback. She's absolutely unreal. She's been around for so long now. She's so experienced. She knows how to get the job done there. She's won multiple NRLW premierships and could easily go on to try and lead this team to another one. I don't believe the Broncos have that same quality as they have in the past. But look, Gail Broughton's there as well. You've got Destiny Brill on the hooker, who was with the Gold Coast Titans women recently. Tasman Gray also was with us. They've just got... And then you've got a big front row forward pack of Annette Claudia Anuia Sala and Chelsea Lanadusi. Like, they've got a really big forward pack there. So I think that we are able to match it. But I also think that they definitely shouldn't be held without any quality at all. They do have the quality there, but you've got girls like Avani Palati, you've got Emily Bass on the wing, who was fantastic, alongside Destiny Minos-Senapati, Jamie Chapman and Noah Williams. That's just an unreal backline. Really looking forward to seeing what Sienna Lafifo can do in the halfback this week, considering we're probably going to be missing out on Talia Fuimaono. And then our forward pack is it's full of internationals. Shannon Marto, Jessica Elliston, Lauren Brown played for the Broncos, so hopefully she gets a good return game there. Shaylee Bent, Zara Canfield, and Georgia Hale. And you know what? I've got to get a massive shout out going here for Steph Hancock as well, who comes off the bench for us. You know, she's no young pup anymore, but I tell you what, she looks like she is just an absolutely experienced leader, and I love it. She may be, 40, 42 years old, but it looks like she's damn well 30 coming off the bench there as a front rower. It really is just awesome to see what she brings when she grabs that ball, runs it hard, and she takes like 3, 4, 17 defenders to take her down. So it just shows it doesn't matter, you know, how old you may be. If you've got the quality, you've got the damn well quality. And Steph Hancock, for me, she definitely has the quality. And
I can't really say enough about Steph Hancock. The respect I have for a real pioneer of the women's game, you would say that while she was representing the Gillaroos and the Maroons a number of years ago, she was taking leave from her job as a police officer in the Queensland Police Force, risking injury that would then mean she's unpaid. So not only does she do a fantastic job as a police officer in the community, brilliant football player, brilliant leader of our community. So Steph Hancock off the bench there was really, really important for us. So it sounds like we're both confident we do beat the Broncos, but we are wary because they do still have some stars there, such as Brigham Shaw, and of course Tasman Gray, who was the MVP in the Women's Origin Series.
Destiny Brill is a really good hooker that we know all about because she was with us. But just before we do move on here to the game, we don't want to recap. I do want to bring up the ladder here for everyone. Even though it's only been one game, it's good to understand where we are kind of situated. So there are 10 teams in the tournament, and it is a top 4, not a top 8, because then there'd only be 2 teams that miss out. But we do sit right in the middle, bang in the middle at 5th position, because we did only win by the 10 points there, and there were some pretty big blowout scores this weekend. So funnily enough, the West Tigers and the men's might be on the bottom, but guess what, baby? They're on the top here. Their first year in the competition, they got a massive win over the Eels. West Tigers beat the Eels there, so they're on top with a plus 28 points differential. The Roosters, they're in second after their big win against the Broncos. The Knights had a nice little win there as well. The Sharks had a win, and now the Titans are in 5th. So we're not in that top 4 just yet, but it's irregardless realistically because it is the first game of the season. So really think that by next week, we're definitely going to push in there. Because do any of the teams out there play each other? Yeah, the Sharks and the Tigers play each other this week. So, I think we'll be in the top 4 and hopefully a big win incoming against the Bronx. Slap the Bronx, baby. Let's do the double in Brisbane because the men's beat them in Brisbane. Don't forget that, Broncos fans. And now the women are going to do it in Brisbane as well.
And, of course, we are 1-1 against them in NRLW history. You touch on the ladder there. I want to touch on NRLW finals just for one moment. I know you're a BBL fan as well. I think we're both, unfortunately, Brisbane Heat fans. We wish it was Gold Coast Heat, but whatever. It's Gold Coast Heat from now on. It's not Brisbane Heat. Let's just put it that way. They do it. The first game is 4th v 5th. Then you have 1st v 2nd. If you win that game, you go straight to the final, guaranteed. You then have the loser of that versus whoever was 3rd. And then the 2 remaining teams play off in a prelim. I think that might be better for the NRLW. It's tough to explain via just voice, but if you Google BBL Finals Explained, if you're interested as one of our listeners, you'll see it. Could be a good way to run the women's game because, of course, there is 10 teams, so 5 logically makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think that makes sense because I think right now it's 1st versus 4th and 2nd versus 3rd, which is effectively like what it used to be in the NRL when it was like 1st versus 8th, 2nd versus 7th, which was quite silly. And I know this is a lot more condensed, but overall, I think that what you're saying is a better idea. You get more teams in the finals. It is half the competition. And I think that you're right. I think the BBL system would be exactly what the NRLW should consist of. But I do know there are whispers in the air that Manly could be getting a team in the coming years. I don't know about what the Warriors are doing. They used to have an NRLW team. I don't know if they want to get back into it. And there's still a couple of teams out there. You know, there's the Rabbitohs, there's the Panthers, who don't have teams yet, the Melbourne Storm as well. So there's still quite a few teams, Dolphins as well. So there's still quite a few teams that don't have a runner in the NRLW just yet. But look, for the time being, I agree with you. And especially if it's like a 12-team league, then the top 5 would be brilliant. Yeah,
I can't wait for like 5 years from now where we have, hopefully at that time, an NRLW national competition, a reserve grade national competition, and an NRL competition as well. That would be awesome. Let's touch on something that wasn't so awesome because
please.
We have to.
Please.
Our game last week, we lose to the Roosters 18-36. I will say that scoreline looks favourable for us. It really the
Absolutely.
game didn't go that way at all. And I'm cautious here of being overly negative for the sake of it, but also giving our viewers a product that's not entirely honest. And if I'm being entirely honest, I don't have too much positive to say from that game. I am wary that a lot of other content creators and sometimes the mainstream media already kick our club down and have negative things to say. And it's not, I'm not doing a Ricky Stewart, the world against us, woe is us sort of thing here. I think that's just the facts of it. But my first observation was, and I don't want to make any excuse for this side, but I think our fans, to try to understand what went wrong potentially, is the last 3 games taking a massive toll on the mental sharpness of our side. 3 crushing losses when you look at it. We could have beat the Raiders, probably should have. The Dolphins one was just plain unlucky. The first team to be pinged for that in the NRL for like over 10 years. I can't even remember the last time. And then the next week, that same call is not made in our favor. So to lose back-to-back games, twice. It was a really tough pill for us to swallow as fans. And so I can only imagine as players, they felt that even worse, as that is what they work towards every hour of every week, and that is their livelihood. My disappointment for this doesn't come from the result as much. It comes from the fact it was David Fifita's 100th NRL game. I love Dave. The community loves Dave. The players love Dave. He's just re-signed with us long-term. He's been our best player this year. 100 NRL games at his age of 23 is genuinely remarkable. And I felt like it was something we really should have celebrated, put a lot of thought to, and I would have hoped we would have come out and performed a little bit better for Dave there. I felt like as a club and as a community, we really owed that to Dave for what he's been able to deliver for us this year. It wasn't to be, mate. That's all off the field stuff. Let's go to you for on the field stuff. I know you were there live, and I guess it must have felt pretty deflating in the stands.
Oh, man. Yes, it did. It definitely did. And if people want to see my live reaction to it, obviously there is the vlog every week on BKRsport. But, man, like, it was so deflating. It was incredibly demoralizing. And I wouldn't say that it wasn't the same emotional response that I received, and I think a lot of the fans received after the Dolphins collapse when we were up 26-0 to lose 28-26. I think this one here, when we were down 36-0, was more... it was more demoralizing as a whole, because you know what impact it had to our season, and in regards to getting into the finals, we needed to win all of them, all of our games to go, or even just 6 out of the 7. But that doesn't get us off to a good start. So now it's like realistically 100% we have to win every game from here on out. We do have a tough schedule to come here. I just think it was so demoralizing to go down so early and so cheaply. And that's exactly what we do every single week. We give up a try really, really early in the game. This game here, the Raiders game was another one. I believe the Dolphins game was another one. The early Eels game as well. The Eels game this year, the other week as well. There's every game, it seems like we go on the back foot in the first 5 minutes. And if we don't turn it around quickly, then we say sayonara to our game pretty early. And that's exactly how it happened on the weekend. It just seemed like the Roosters just kept rolling through. And I felt like I was really detached to the game from the stand. I was just standing there and I was trying my best to get some chants up. I can't tell people to chant. Like, I can chant, I can't tell any other people to chant. And unfortunately, we just couldn't get anyone to really get behind it, because we just saw what was happening in front of us and we just kept conceding. They just kept going. And yeah, it was a really disappointing game. And I don't think that any of the boys are unaware of how deflated our fan base is right now and how poor of an effort it was. But again, that last 3 weeks was really mentally taxing. It was really mentally tough. And the boys obviously would have gone to this game a little bit lethargic. And I thought that, we might have had a bit more in us because of the Dave Fifita 100 games, because of the fact that, we had so much to play for. I was just expecting a bit more. And I had that bet with a Roosters fan, another content creator out there, that I had to, back in the Roosters for the rest of the season. So that's why you probably would have seen that video on Instagram. I wish I didn't have to do that. I've also got a bet in regards to I can't shave until we win another game. And this bet went 4 weeks ago. I was so confident we were going to get a win. Please win. I need to, man. But yeah, look, really disappointing effort. Hopefully they can turn around this week against the Cowboys at home on Sunday. All we can do as fans is get out there and support this team and just hope that it turns around. There was a couple of good efforts individually, but overall, really disappointing outcome.
Disappointing outcome too when you look at the ladder and the fact that Eels are on, I believe, 24 points now. Roosters are on 22 points. 1 win outside the 8, which would have been us. with a better for and against than the Roosters this year had we have won. Instead, our season more or less looks to be over. I think we'd need some sort of miracle from here and beat sides.
If I was going to give like a percentage, man, and we had this a couple of weeks ago, and you asked what percentage I would give, and I'd say that it's a 5% chance. I'm not going to flat out decline any opportunity of us making the top 8. Even Tino said this to me at the end of the game, like, don't give up hope yet. I understand that that's just kind of like player to fan conversational point there, but I would say that we're a 5% chance. It's extremely unlikely. However, we are still like 4 points or whatever out the 8. There is 6 games to go, so that's 10 points there. We need a lot to go in our favour, though. Like, the Manly Seagulls are above us, the Knights are above us, Rabbitohs, they've got a good run home. The Eels are there, you've got also the Dolphins and the Roosters. So there's so many teams that we need to lose now. It's not in our own hands. And also we don't have a bye with a couple of those teams having a bye. So I would say that don't flat out decline any miracle of it happening, but I highly, highly doubt it for sure.
Yeah, we're looking at a 2009 Eels kind of run from here. It's been done before, but it is super, super rare. To give my quick recap of the game, I guess let me get this out of the way right now. We were really, really poor. We were absolutely poor. But I don't know what me, without a professional background in sports, coming on this podcast and telling you guys that in any great detail does. Everyone that knows the game from a fan's perspective and watched the game knows we were bad. For me to sit here and start picking out individual stats or players and stuff like that, I don't really think I can add too much value for you guys there. Certainly if you're after that, there's analysts out there such as Joey Johns for Channel 9, Matty Johns for Fox, etc., etc. So the other side of the coin, you just have to compliment the Roosters. The way the Roosters played, they would have beat most sides because they were playing expansive football in their own half. They had the long-range tries, which is a stat they've led the NRL in when they went back-to-back. They had the X factor flowing. They were playing free, fast, exciting brand of footy that really suffocated us. It didn't suffocate us.
Their season was on the line, mate. They were playing like their season was on the line, which is exactly how we should have been playing.
Yes, that's more than fair criticism. That's absolutely how they were playing it, and we weren't, which is really, really unfortunate. I believe that's also their 10th win in a row over us, which is a really, really bad stat. Our next game, we will likely be huge underdogs, and I want to see a big response from our team in that one. The positive to take from this was that we won the second half 18-6, but I'm not going to sit here and spin that in a massive positive for you guys and be dishonest. I don't think we performed too much stronger in the second half. I think it was more a case of the Roosters put the cue in the rack and said, well, look, we're up 32-0 or 36-0, whatever they were up at one stage. We don't need to keep, carrying on with this. We've already won comfortably. So ultimately, I want to see us perform strong in the second half when the game's on the line and we need to, not in situations like that. So it's a minor positive, but ultimately I'm happy to leave.
Go ahead. You want a big positive? The big positive is that, hey, listen, Suoliti, nothing. He's 0-1 against me on my sideline. Doesn't matter. We might have lost the game, but guess what? The individual battle, you guys know me, I'm with my drums right behind them on that eastern touchline. I'm about 5-10 meters behind him. And I got into Suoliti. He might be able to get his kicks from everywhere else, but I made him miss from my wing. So he's in my left pocket. I've got Jermaine Asako in my right pocket. Don't even start me on Mitchell Moses the other year. And don't even get me going on Zach Lomax. So I'm doing my job on the sideline. I'm making them miss their conversions. I even saw Cleese. I messaged him this the other day, actually. I even saw Cleese watching me when they scored. The Roosters scored. And then the boys are obviously huddled behind the post. And Suoliti's going for his kick. I could see Cleese laughing at me from behind the post because I'm just looking over there. And then I made him miss, and we all went up there. So, yeah, look, obviously we lost the game, but you got to look for the positives, man. You still got to have fun in the stadium. It is a day out at the end of the day. It is rugby league at the end of the day. We all love it. We're passionate. And, yeah, we're emotional for it. But look for the individual wins and the positives. And although, we lost the game, I own Suoliti, and he's off to the rugby union now because of me. It's not because his contract, because of me. He's scared. I get it. Go to rugby. Thank you for coming.
And I've actually got unconfirmed reports coming in that the New Zealand All Blacks are looking to sign you. They are so worried about the signing of Suoliti to the Wallabies that they think they need you from the sideline to slow him down a little bit. So stay by the phone once we finish this podcast, mate. I think you might have a phone call there for the All Blacks. But let's jump into our 3-2-1s. Let's finish this on a positive note, right? My 3 points, I'm going Aaron Clark, Doesn't usually start for us, but I loved his energy starting. He had 5 tackle breaks, 4 off 157 meters. He did score late also, and you could tell that he kept the same energy throughout the game, still mattered to him regardless of the scoreline as he took it toward Jared Waerea-Hargreaves. He gets my 3 points, but who gets yours?
Yeah, I'm going to go Chrissy Randall. I thought that he was in it, and it's hard to say brilliant because of the fact of the results, because he still wasn't the team, but I thought that he individually had a really, really nice game, considering that I don't even think Chris knows what position he's playing anymore. Does he play front row? Does he play back row? Does he play hooker that he was signed for and had to play while Sami Verrills was injured? Does he play lock? What is he? Off the bench? He doesn't know, but it doesn't matter because he's so good in every position. You can just throw him in there and he is a tackle bot, and also had the most line breaks in our team. He had like 2 line breaks in the game, which was really good there for what Chris can provide. We didn't sign him to provide all this, in my personal opinion. I thought he was just going to be a backup hooker to Sam Verrills, which was what we needed at the beginning part of this season, but he just has been so much more, and I think that with every passing day, the trade of Greg Martiu for Chris Randall has absolutely come up if trumps in our favour. Even though Greg's doing well for the Knights, don't get me wrong there, I just think we needed Chris Randall. We've got plenty of depth in the wing department. Also made the most tackles out of anyone in our team. Really appreciated what Chris Randall has done here. And did also, he scored that try as well. That really helped. So Chris Randall, I'll give him my 3 points for sure, yeah.
2 points, I've got Chris Randall there. Can't really add too much to what you said. He was perfect. 38 tackles, 4 tackle breaks. One of our best forwards out there. But what I will say is moving forward next year, I think it really helps having someone like Chris Randall on your side, because you can still have Jaden as your 14 and Chris Randall as your 15 on your interchange. Because Chris is no longer just a backup hooker, he can come on and play prop, lock, back row, anywhere in the forward pack as required. That for me means we can, and I can feel comfortable carrying Jaden in that 14 because we have another genuine utility there that can cover a range of positions. Who gets your 2 points this week?
I'm actually going to give it to Moeaki Fotuaika. And I know he gets brought up every single week, but every time he ran the ball, it was just really, really tough. And we needed those kind of runs. I don't think it was his best game by any means, but he ran for 197 metres. So that's the most run metres in our team over the weekend. And I think that although you can look at guys like JC who might have come on and provided a bit of extra, oomph to the team, you could look at guys like Aaron Clark, as you said, who brought some real energy. I just think Mo is just so consistent, and it's a necessity right now that we do have that consistency throughout this team, because there is so much that has gone wrong in regards to chopping and changing and coaches coming in and out, shaking it all about this season, that Mo has been a real constant and consistent player. And, I saw him after the game. I saw how dejected he was. He is so passionate for this team. He loves this team, man, and just wants so much success for the fan base and also for the Gold Coast community and just in general. So, yeah, I've got to give my 2 points to Moeaki Fotuaika there. And then for my 1 point, I'm going to give it to Ez Clark, just because Ez is just, when he gets going, man, he's such a tough ball runner. In that 13, obviously Isaac's usually there. I think we've wanted to see him get into that 13 for a little bit now, and he didn't disappoint really. It wasn't obviously his greatest game either. Again, look at the scoreline and you can see that all these guys, it might not have been their greatest game ever. But Aaron Clark, as you said, the tackle breaks, the offloads, just everything he brought to the game. He just runs that ball hard, man. And I know that he wears his heart in his sleeve, and so you can see and sense the frustration from him immediately after a game. Happened in that Dolphins game that he got pinged for. Happened this game. Every time I see him, it just really, you can see and sense that frustration that he has, that he just desperately wants this team to succeed. So, yeah, I'll give it to Ez Clark as my 1.
I've got my honourable mention as Moeaki Fotuaika, but I actually went Brian Kelly for my 1 point. He scored, had 7 tackle breaks, and I probably thought as far as our outside backs are concerned and point scoring opportunities, he did look our most dangerous. So my 1 point goes to BK there, who could be playing for his future without a contract from 2024 onwards with a new coach coming in. So that was great to see from Brian Kelly. Let's kick over to Around the Grounds. Now, typically in this segment, you guys would know we review the Host Plus Cup games, but there actually wasn't any this week. It was a break round for everyone. I assume that's to mirror their season with the NRL, so that they can have their finals on grand final day, etc., etc.
No, I will just quickly as well, just because we're not doing the review, I just want to let everyone know where everyone actually sits right now, and obviously the games that are coming this weekend. Just because obviously it's great that people are able to see what is coming up this weekend. So for the Burleigh Bears, we do have the Northern Pride, and they play at UAA Park on the Gold Coast, which is 3 p.m. on Saturday. The Bears currently sit in second position right now. South Logan Magpies are in first, but they have the bye, so the Bears unfortunately can't get over top of them. But if the Bears want any chance of winning that minor premiership this year and finishing in first, they need to absolutely whoop the Northern Pride here. But the Northern Pride are one spot out of that top 8, so they really desperately need a win here. But if the Bears, they're plus 120 points differential, whilst the Magpies are plus 190 points differential. So they need to really start making up that 70 gap in the difference department. And then the Wynnum Manly Seagulls as well, who are just behind. They've got a better points differential of plus 172. They're 2 points behind the Bears right now. And the Wynnum Manly Seagulls, they have, who do they play? They play the Sunshine Coast Falcons, who have been in some really good form lately, and they're in 8th position, so the Bears would love the Falcons to do them a favour. And the Dolphins in 4th position, they have a bye, so they can't go above the Bears because they're on 25 points, whilst the Bears are on 28 points. And then on the other side of the spectrum with Seagulls, they're on 22 points right now. They actually have a bye, which really helps out their causes while they're in 7th. They'll put them to 24 points. And the Capras, they're playing the Clydesdales. So you would assume the Capras probably win that game with the Clydesdales down there in 13th position. But it does help the Seagulls that they won't drop out of the 8 because the Falcons and Pride and Blackhawks obviously wouldn't be able to go above them. So yeah, lots going on there. Obviously the Bears really trying to get a big win this week, and the Seagulls just hoping the Clydesdales or Papua New Guinea Hunters can do a favour for them against the Capras and the Tigers.
Interested to see how our Tweed Seagulls coaching staff handled that 2-week break, obviously having the week off last week and now a bye round. I like to think probably come in early in the week and start your preparations for your next game nice and early. But I want to go through our players that have gone back to cup level this year from the Titans. And let's say we both probably agree we're at about 5% chance to play the finals from here. So probably an opportunity to give some of these players some more NRL experience in games. For the Bears, which of these players would you like to see a little bit more as we close out the NRL season? Keanu Kinney, Ken Mamalo, Tony Francis, Jacob Arlick, and I can go through them one by one, or does any of them jump out at you straight away?
I think Keanu Kinney for sure, but with that being said, we've already got a frustrating dilemma between AJ Brimdog Millionaire and also Jaden Campbell. So, but Keanu Kinney is an absolutely undeniable talent that when he gets his opportunity, he was thrown into the mix a game against the Rabbitohs this year. You know, that's not an easy game to be thrown into the mix, and I thought he still handled himself quite well despite the stats not favouring him. Yeah, obviously Jacob Alec, I would love to see him get more of a crack. He had a great game when he came on to play against the Dolphins. Nearly had an assist with his first ball, but unfortunately he hasn't been given another green light just yet. And look, obviously you look at McKaylee, who has come in and we thought we'd see more of him, but he got like maybe 10, 20 minutes against the Dolphins in that original game at Suncorp. Besides that, we haven't seen it. So yeah, specifically I'll be looking at Kinney and Alec. I don't know if we can fit Mamalo in. I know people are crying out for it, but we've got Phillip Sami, we've got Alofiana Camperera, we've got the wings there. I don't know what people really want. And then there's other players, as we'll get to in Tweed, that's still there as well. So yeah, I don't know. I think that Kinney and Alec are the ones that I really do look towards though.
My quick assessment is Kinney, probably not, just because we already have Jaden Campbell unable to get into that starting side, which everyone says he should be. Mamalo, probably not again. Our wingers seem pretty set, and if not, we've still got, Phillip Sami that shifts between centre, wing, Aaron Sharp as 18th man, etc. Francis, I think, still probably a little bit young. Just keep chipping away and reserve grade there. Another outside back, it should be noted. Alec and McKaylee, I'm saying yes. I want to see more of Alec, and I think Tom McKaylee, I want to see more of him, and CV can play for a future with our club because I do think he had a few really good games when he was with the Tigers. For Tweed, I got 4 names for you. Cruz Leeming, Joseph Vuna, Tremaine Spry, and Thomas Weaver. Any of those 4 men you want to see thrown into the mix a little bit more this year?
I think Tommy Weaver. Tommy Weaver potentially could get an opportunity. And with all due respect, our season is technically still alive right now, so you probably wouldn't be seeing any of these guys coming in until a little bit later when the season is officially dead and buried. But yeah, Tommy Weaver is our future in regards to the halves. So, we could definitely see him come in and play a bit of 7 if, Tanner's not exactly performing to the standard that I know that he can achieve. I know he can play really well. But Tommy Weaver could come into that 7, or he could go into the 6 and Kizza could have a bit of a rest. Give Foz a bit of a rest there while Weaver gets a little bit of an opportunity. Tremaine Spry has the same kind of issues in regards to Mamalo, where we just have that wing depth right now where, he's really fighting hard to get there. And, at the centres, we've got a heap of depth as well. So it's really difficult to see him. I think Werner has been given enough of an opportunity. I don't think necessarily he needs to get back into the team, but I love what he can provide off the bench sometimes, but then Cruz Leeming as well. He is going to be off back to the Super League at the end of the year. He did what he did for the club. I don't think that Leeming is going to come back into the team. I think that Leeming, he provided a purpose, served his purpose, and will go home. And we don't have any ill feelings towards him. We thought that he did a great job when he had to, and then he goes back home.
My assessment of those four, Leeming and Werner, I'm going to say no, just because both are off contract and Leeming is officially signed with another club from next year. Tremaine Spry, I'm probably going to say no as well, just because Shop is already 18th man, and Spry's been in and out of the NRL enough now where he's already got that experience. Tom Weaver, I'm going to say yes, but it depends on Kieran Foran's toe injury. Because I know earlier in the year he was reluctant to get surgery because it would rule him out for the rest of the season. But if his toe is still at a point where he requires surgery, get it now, Foz. Let's give Weaver some games to finish the year. Get it now, Foz, and come back for a big preseason, ready to rip in for 2024, as opposed to getting it after the season and then missing a large chunk of the preseason where we need you there as one of our most experienced. So that's my call there. Bit of a bold one, but could go our way long term. Current injury list, Jimmy Joloff's hand injury has been pushed back to round 25. Tino is suspended until round 24, and Bo Firma will be returning in 2024 to that ACL also. Let's move on to our team list review. Not many key changes to really speak about here, man. Cleese Haas goes to the bench. Joe Stimson starts again, so they swap around. No Aaron Shop again. He's 18th man. Jojo Fafita preferred in the centres there. And no Jacob Arlick again. Isaac Suamala is preferred there on the bench. Anything jump out to you there?
I would love to see Arlick. I would love to see Arlick. And I think that Isaac Suamalawi is fine, absolutely. I love the bloke. But I do think that Arlick just deserves an opportunity right now to really show it. I think Isaac's been given a little bit this year. I think Arlick hasn't really been given the similar amount of opportunity. So I would love Jacob to really come in and potentially provide what he did against that Dolphins team. And it is a big Cowboys outfit. They've got the likes of Jason Tamalolo. We go up against my boys, Sammy McIntyre. They've got the likes of a tough Jake Granville, Ruben Cotter. What an absolutely tough player there. Lucian Leilua, Cohen Hess, John McLean, Reece Robinson. They're just such a really bolstery team, and I do think that Alec would really do well against this kind of lineup here. So yeah, that's probably the only thing I'm really looking at there. I don't necessarily mind the re-inclusion of Joe Stimson as long as Cleese Haas is still there. I think Cleese got caught out a little bit in that game against the Roosters that we don't want to talk about ever again. But yeah, look, overall, I think that this team is what you would expect. It is Isaac Liu in that front row. We'll see if that ends up happening, because we saw Chris Randall got included into the front row late for Liu, where Liu came off the bench. I think it might go the same way, but Liu is another big body to counteract this Cowboys team. So yeah, look, I like the team, but I am still hurting from the weekend.
Yeah, that's pretty much the 17 I expected. I probably thought that they would swap Stimson and Haas back. Now Stimson's had a game under his belt, returning from the head knock. But let's preview our game. This round we are up against the Cowboys, Sunday 4 p.m. at Seabuzz Super Stadium. My first thoughts on this one, the location. And I just can't help but wonder, imagine if we'd played or won some of those games we should have early in this year, and we were coming to home this weekend. I think we've got the Warriors there again next weekend again, knowing this stretch of home games, how much it would mean to us as well. Instead, it's kind of just... I guess what I'm trying to say is I wish these home games meant a little bit more to us, because there would have been some awesome energy on the coast for this month coming into the finals for our side, but it wasn't to be. That's okay. We're still not officially out of the hunt, but it's not looking likely. Cowboys are no joke at the moment, man. We go back to let's go round 12. I would have tipped us to beat them. But since their round 13 loss to the Eels, they drew a line in the sand and they said, we are not a bottom 8 side. We are a top 4 side at best. They actually haven't lost since. They've gone on a six game win streak, which includes wins over the Panthers, Storm, Rabbitohs, and Tigers by 74 points. They've pushed their way into 7th. They've got a lot of momentum at the moment. Just being realistic, I'm struggling to see if we can halt that momentum. I'd love to see us do it, but I would struggle to give us as an official tip in this game. Do you see it that way as well, or do you think we could spring an upset on the Cowboys?
This would be a massive upset right this second because the Cowboys have really come into some form, and Sami Valame has really helped them out. He obviously was at the Canberra Raiders and then I think made a mid-season switch over to the Cowboys and has had a brilliant season with the Cowboys. Players that weren't in form at the beginning of the year are now in absolute dynamic form. Scotty Drinkwater is looking like he might be the fullback of the year at this point. Tom Dearden's been solid. Murray Taulagi has been great with Origin as well, and their forward pack is just really, really tough. So, I do struggle on an official tipping level to back us in here. Obviously, we'll be there and supporting this team. We are major underdogs in regards to the betting market. And you are right, and that's why I'm so deflated at the moment, because I know what the end of season stretch had to offer. We were always looking at this end of season saying, what, if we're still in the hunt, we're competitive, we're really going to be able to push for it. But I think that, unfortunately, the sacking of Justin Holbrook has really halted any kind of momentum that we could have had. We kind of cut our losses early, just in case, obviously, with the signing of Desi, just in case, so that we didn't have a conundrum later on in the year. I don't know. It's a really deflating situation right now, but you've got to just pray and hope that we can utilize some home belief and use the fact that we're still going to have fans out there despite the tumultuous year and despite the fact we've never really had success to be happy with. We've just got to get out there and support this team, and the boys have just got to do what they can to hopefully make us happy for once, because we usually don't really have a great deal to be happy about. So I'm really looking at blind belief here. I'm looking at blind belief based on the fact that I know our back line is good enough. I know that our halves, when they're on, can be on. I don't think that the half battle of Tom Dearden and Chad Townsend is too different to Kieran Foran and Tanner Boyd. And then our forward pack is missing Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, obviously, but I still think that overall this forward pack can match it. It's just that I am still hurting from this weekend. I think we're all still hurting from the season gone so far, and it's hard to pick yourself back up and go again, but we do need to pick ourselves back up and go again regardless of what has happened in the past. We just need to go again.
When I look at this game and I think, are we a chance of an upset? I've got to go through our season. Round 1 was a coin flip against the Tigers. We got the win there. We did defeat the Storm at home, and that was a big upset there. Round 4, I thought we were on the way to beating the Cowboys, if not for the injuries to Foran and Brimo in that game. But it was a different Cowboys side then, so I don't necessarily read into that one too much. Our win against Manly in round 9 was at their home stadium, and we were underdogs there. We were also underdogs the following week at Magic Round when we defeated the Eels. We defeated the Broncos at Suncorp in round 17 as underdogs, and that was our last win. So there's what, 4 or 5 games there this year where we have won as an underdog. So I'm not going to say it's completely out of the realms of possibility, but just breaking this one down, Titans hat off purely from my footy analysis. I don't necessarily see a key to victory. I think our forwards will match it with theirs over time, but then the X factor of Holmes and Drinkwater for the last 6 weeks has been too much for a lot of great sides, Panthers, Storm, Rabbitohs included. Tamalolo off the bench. That's a genuine worry. That doesn't matter who we put off the bench. Even if we put, it doesn't matter. No one can match the X factor from Jason from the bench in the competition. So I do think the Cowboys recognize this game as a very winnable one, and they know that they need to keep winning to continue into that top 8. I give our boys hope if the Cowboys kind of turn up with their attitude. It's just the Titans. We've already won this. We're on a 6-game win streak. We're cruising. Finals around the corner. If they come in with the wrong attitude, like the Melbourne Storm did in round 3, we're a chance at our best to upset the Cowboys here, but we do need a lot of things to go in our favor. Look, if I've got to give an official prediction, I will be tipping the Cowboys in this one. I just think they're traveling a little bit better than us at the moment. But that's a tip, guys. My heart lies solely with this logo. Touched the wrong side, whoops. This logo right here on my chest. I mean, thanks for sponsoring us, my pay now, but it doesn't lie there. It lies here with our Gold Coast home. So my official prediction is in no way who I want to win this game and who I will be supporting. Titans through and through, but officially I do think the Cowboys have the runs on the board here to get the win over us. Official prediction from yourself.
People know that I'm going to be there. People know that I'm there every single week. People know that I love this team to the core, but I do have to tip the Cowboys. I have to be realistic with you. I think that if you're looking at this from a non-biased perspective, the Cowboys have too much form right now. The Cowboys do have a lot of belief in what their team can provide right now, and they just have a team that was in the preliminary finals last year. They've now re-found that form, and people are starting to talk about them to go even higher up into the table. So it is a scary prospect. I think that our boys can absolutely give it their best go, but if you're going to look at an official prediction so that you don't think that we're just biased here on this podcast and we're going to tell you just a bunch of lies every single week, I will tell you that I think the Cowboys will probably win this game. But that doesn't stop us from getting out and supporting this team. It doesn't stop us from believing that our team can win this game, because I do believe that our team can win this game, but everything needs to go right for us for that to happen. So yes, unfortunately, I will have to tip against us, but I'll be banging those drums just as loudly as the week before, the year before, and every year that we have.
Yeah, so both going the Cowboys officially, but there is that underlying belief that we can get an upset based on what we've done this year with a couple other ones, but we do both acknowledge it sounds that a lot of stuff would have to go our way. Let's jump into our Q&A section. Our first question this week comes from before I get into our questions, if you do want to ask a question for future weeks, the best place to do that is the Gold Coast Titans Frontline Podcast. Search that on Facebook and you'll see our group. Join there. We'll accept you. We can talk all Titans things there, and you can also ask your questions every single week. If not, the other place is BKRsport Story on Instagram. Our first question comes from Up the Dragons 5. So we've got a few Dragons fans listening to the podcast. Welcome to the Dragons fans, I suppose. But he says, are you going to get any Titans players or stuff on the podcast? I know we've previously spoken about this. Has your view changed of that anyways recently?
100%. At points we will, but like in the same sense, we are still building this podcast so that you guys can trust what we have to say before we do get the players and the staff and whatnot on. You know, we are currently trying to provide you guys another perspective and opinions about the team that we do love, and we are just still kind of bringing that one up. This is obviously still a brand new podcast. We've gone nearly 10 episodes now. I think this might be 10 episodes now, but the point of the matter is that we have been punching along, and hopefully you guys are starting to understand where we're coming from, and you can feel our passion, you can feel our love for this team. And then from there, like, we obviously do know the players, we do know a lot of the staff, and we absolutely will try to get them on and whatnot, and we'll get them on at some point. But I think that right now we're still at a point where we're trying to build your guys' trust, because we want your guys' trust. We want you guys to trust that we're giving you the legit points of what's happening, rather than just kind to, you know, give you only the positives and not just, you know, we want to provide a positive podcast, but we want to be realistic with it as well. So yeah, still building. I believe you've probably got the same viewpoint, Clarkey.
That's it. It's not so much building the audience or building to a certain number or views each week that would signal for us, yep, let's start doing player staff interviews. It's more so building that belief from the community that what we're delivering every week is a quality product that people want to spend an hour of their time listening to. And of course, we're always very appreciative of that. But certainly in the future, we do have an aim to do some sit-down interviews, maybe some virtual ones, and we could cover players' life up to the NRL, interesting stories they might have. We could do some fun segments where we ask players, you know, who's the most annoying in the team, whatever, and get everyone's response. All that sort of stuff has been planned and discussed in the background. But for now, we just want to build up your guys' trust and deliver the best possible product with us. Our next question comes from Summer Harvey on Instagram. And they say, where do you think JC slots into our team the best? I'll start this one off, Blaze. It's a great question. I do think, and from what I saw on the internet after our loss to the Roosters, a lot of people saying we need to get rid of Boyd. Jaden should be our 7. Boyd's no good. And I just think, come on, guys. If Boyd was good enough for the first 20 rounds this season, he's good enough to be our halfback in round 22. Although Jaden did come off the bench and he does bring a lot of impact there, we need to recognise there is still a pecking order in the NRL and at our club. AJ Brimson is the Maroons fullback currently. He needs to be the fullback. Tanner Boyd has been our halfback all year, and he's played brilliant for us for majority of the year. He needs to be our halfback. And so I get that Jaden is playing some really exciting footy off the bench and when starting for us at the moment. But I just think for now his best position for our team is still at 14. Do you mirror that, or do you think JC should be starting?
I think that it's really, really difficult, man. Like, I really have... It's such a frustrating dilemma. But it's a good dilemma, but a frustrating one too, because JC... Like, in an ideal world, yes, should start. But with that being said, we do have a State of Origin caliber fullback who is our number one. JC comes on against the Roosters when the queue is in the rack. The Roosters have nothing really left to play for. They should have, because they had to fix their points differential, but they didn't. They kind of fell asleep there and allowed us to get a few more tries. I don't look at that second half for anything for the Titans, in my personal opinion. I really don't. I think there's positives for JC. I love my boy JC. I'm always backing him in. But it's just such a difficult predicament to have. Maybe you give him more of a crack in that 6th role and give Foz more of a rest towards the end of the season, because you know he has been really pushing his body throughout the year. Love what Foz has done with us this year, but maybe you start to kind of blood JC through those halves. And I think that Tanner is our future, man. I really do. I think that the club is pretty determined to maintain Tanner as our 7, as he's still our 7 this week, and he'll still be our 7 the week after. It was maybe one of the rougher games against the Roosters, but truly, man, like it's such an interesting conversation to have around JC, because he can play 14, he can play in the halves, he can play fullback. Maybe you put AJ into the centres. I don't know. I think the best position for him would be, I think that in a crazy world, you probably put him into fullback with AJ centre. I think that is probably where he does look. However, I don't think the club will do that.
It's up to Des Hasler ultimately as well. Like, that's only our opinion. Des could come in and say, no, I want a fullback with X factor, and I want you, Brimson, at 6, or I want you, Brimson, at centre more likely.
AJ halves as well is a good shout as well.
Or maybe Des goes, I want Foreign as my 7, and I want Tanner as my 14, coming off the bench and playing in a 13 role. We don't know what Des wants yet, but certainly for Jaden, he's so talented, he should be starting. But I just think with where we're at the moment, his best position is still 14. Our next question comes from Bailey Jacobson on Instagram, and he says, which key aspects need fixing in order to win more games and make the finals? For me, I'll give one right away. Playing 80 minutes, and probably our mental sharpness coming into games. I think if you go through our losses this year, round 2 to the Dragons, I think we could have beat them. Round 4 at Townsville, I thought we were unlucky with the injuries, so I'm happy to leave that as is. The reason why I think we could have beat the Dragons is because we literally did beat them a few rounds later.
Yeah,
the Seabus Super
injured in the game, and that's exactly where they found the gap.
Exactly right. We go to our next game with the Broncos. We were looking really, really good at halftime in that one. We didn't quite have the mental sharpness to go on, as was the same in round 8 against the Dolphins. We then lost to the Knights 46-26 at Newcastle Stadium. We were pretty well beaten that day. Happy to say we would have lost that one. Round 12, we somehow lose to the Doggies. 20-18, with a bye week coming. We just needed to win that and go into the bye and collect, double points there. Rabbitohs game was always going to be a tough one. They're a great side, but then we rebound, smash the Tigers, go into a bye, beat the Broncos. Hello, look at this momentum. Let's stay sharp, boys. We then drop a really unfortunate one to the Raiders, and then we know what's happened the next 2 games from that with the Dolphins Eels. We come in around 21. It was a 50-50 game with the Roosters. We were slight underdogs. And so I guess, not to drag it out, sorry, Blaze, but the point I make is if you actually go through how close we've been this year, we could genuinely be in the top 4. There's so many missed opportunities there because for one reason or another, it could be inexperience. I think it's still sharpness. We weren't quite there. So that's where I put my finger on the pulse. How do you see that question, though? What do you think is the key aspects we need to fix?
I think the key aspects we need to fix is just a consistency around the club. And that's not necessarily in regards to the playing, but it's just about the off-field stuff. We've had a lot that's gone on this year. We've had the the sacking of Justin Holbrook, the bringing of Desi Hasler, how much that situation hurt. We've got the nonsense surrounding Dave, and we've got Tino in regards to their contracts. We've got the Ben Hunt situation that has blown up around our club as well. You know, we've had so much that there's been so much noise, and we're not like a Roosters or a Rabbitohs or the Broncos who can kind of deal with all this head noise coming in left, right, left, right, left, right. It's just never really been our club. So when we've had the Jared Hayne noise of 2016, we struggled. You know, every time we have noise, it just seems like there's way too much going on in this team. And I think that if we're going to really push forward to being the better team that I know that we can provide, especially under Desi going into next year, he's a guy that knows how to deal with that noise at Manly. You know, he'll rip into the media. He'll rip into the NRL. He'll defend the club. And I know that he's been around the club in recent weeks. I've spoken to people. He's been around the club in recent weeks. He is tinkering with the team. He's trying to figure out his plan of attack. So, you know, I'm just looking forward to a fresh start with Desi Hasler. I love Justin, but Desi Hasler comes in, and I think he's going to be able to really restrict the noise. He's going to be hard on the players, but he's going to restrict the noise that gets into them. So, you know, I don't know what that means overall, but I just know that if there's anybody that we should trust, it is a guy like Desi Hasler who will come in and rip and tear.
Rip and tear, rip the front door off. That's what we want from Desi, and that's what he will do. We did have a question here from Jess God 94 on Instagram, and they asked if Phillip Mayona is ruled out, how much does that hurt our Titans NRLW chances? But I am pleased to say that News Corp reporting it's been scans have cleared any serious injury, and she has even a chance of playing this week. The reason why I still read that one out is because we do welcome NRLW questions in this segment. Absolutely. Also. But from me, that is I'm not too sure how long, but it might feel like a long one for you guys. Just over an hour, which will probably be our running time moving forward. Now we are also including the NRLW recap preview. We'll have host plus games to review for you guys next week, and hopefully a Titans win against the Cowboys at home. Then we'll be at the same time to break it all down, review it all, and we hope we can see you there. So from myself, thank you very much for being here, and over to you, Blaze, to say goodbye to the listeners.
Just need everyone to turn up this weekend on Sunday, 4 o'clock at Seabus. We just need everyone to turn up and do our best to support this team throughout all the struggles, man. We beat the Cowboys women. Now let's get a nice little no yeehaw today against the men on Sunday. We just need to find a way to pick ourselves up and go again. If there's a club in the NRL that knows how to do it, it's us. We've done it for so long now. Just pick yourselves up, go again, enjoy the day out at the footy. It was a beautiful day on Saturday at Seabus Super Stadium despite the result. Now, regardless of the result here, which we still do have belief in this team, get out there, get behind the front line, the official sports club of the Gold Coast Titans. Let's get some noise going. There will be plenty of Cowboys fans there. And I can tell you right now, a precursor, the week after, it's not going to be any easier because we take on a Warriors team that's going to have 25,000 fans in our stadium. Truly, because with their fan base right now, with the amount of people joining them, and also just the fact there's a large Kiwi population on the coast, there's going to be a lot of Kiwis. So let's at least try and outnumber the Cowboys here at Seabus before we have to deal with that one. But yeah, that's it from me. Obviously, if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, and the likes, we do really appreciate everyone who does support the content that we are putting out there. And we are moving and grooving. We are putting ourselves out there regardless of results and giving you guys the best that we possibly can. So, like I said, no yeehaw this week. Slap the Cowboys. Come on, boys. Let's get it rocking. No yeehaws, son. No yeehaws, Clarkey.